Hello and welcome back. Okay, so right now we are discussing proportion and what it actually means to say that two ratios are in proportion, or to say that two ratios are not in proportion. Okay, so that's what that's like what we are going to be discussing in this video. So let's actually get at the definition first. So the definition actually states that let's say, for example, you're given two ratios. Let's say that the first ratio is 1:2, and the other ratio, let's say, is 2:4. Now, if these two ratios turn out to be their actual value turn out to be equal, okay, in fact, in this case, that is going to be equal, and the actual value that they bring out is 0.5 in both cases. So then you can actually say that both of these ratios are in proportion. Okay, so 1:2 is just another way of saying 1 divided by 2. And 2:4 is just another way of saying 2 divided by 4. And when you actually do the math, you simplify the expression 1 divided by 2. You simplify it and turn it into a decimal form. The answer that you get is 0.5. And in the same way, when you turn 2:4 into its actual mathematical expression, which is 2 divided by 4, and you actually simplify the thing, the answer comes out to be 0.5. And in both cases, the value is equal. And you can say that they are in fact in proportion. So that's good enough. So where do we actually try to use this thing? Okay, so first of all, let's get out an example, and let's say you want to find the value of x in this case. Now, if you actually look closely, you can find the symbol. And before we actually continue, just a side note: this is the symbol of proportion. Okay, when you actually see this, you can say that in fact you can just say that 5 whatever is on the left hand side is going to be equal to whatever is on the right hand side. In this case, 5 divided by 50 is going to be equal to x divided by 10. Okay, so in fact this proportion has just turned into a normal equation that we can solve. Okay, so let's actually try to solve this for x and try to find out the value of x. Okay, so again, whenever we are trying to find out the value of any variable x in this case, we need to have that variable isolated, and we can do that by removing the 10, which is dividing x. Okay, so we can do that by multiplying both sides by 10, and we do that, and the 10s on the right hand side, they just cancel out because one is in the numerator, the other is in the denominator, and numerators can cancel the denominators out, and we have in fact done that, leaving us just with x. On the left hand side, the 10 and 50 can in fact cancel out. Okay, 10 times 5 is 50, so we can just have 5 in the denominator side, and 5 divided by 5, well, that just equals 1. So in fact, we have found out the value of x, and it actually says that x is equal to 1. In fact, you can just replace the value of x. Instead of the x, you can just write 1 in that case, and the proportion still holds because we actually use the proportion to actually find out the value of x. So this is where you actually use the idea of proportions. So let's say again you want to find out the value of a in this case, and you see the proportion symbol, so you can just basically write 5 divided by a is equal to 1/2, because proportion means that whatever is on the left hand side, the ratio, is going to be equal to whatever it is, to whatever the ratio is on the right hand side, in this case 1/2. Okay, so now first of all, we need to find out the value of a, and we can do that by actually doing something slightly different, but again, not radically different. We're just going to multiply a, so we can just have a in the numerator. Okay, we also could have just flipped the entire thing, but let's just do this this time. Okay, so on the left hand side, the a's can cancel out, and on the right hand side we have a in the numerator side, so that is better than before. Now it is in the numerator side. We always need to have it on the numerator side, so this is actually better. So what we're left with is a divided by 2 is equal to 5. Now again, we don't want the value of a divided by 2, we just want the value of a, so you can get rid of the 2 by multiplying 2 on both sides. So we do that on the right hand side, the 2's can then cancel out, and on the left hand side, 2 times 5 is just equal to 10. So we have actually found out the value of a, and we can in fact replace it. I didn't do that, but you can actually do that. So 5/10 is in fact equal to 1/2. And in fact, if you actually remember in the previous lecture, I actually told you that ratios can in fact be simplified. Okay, they are just two numbers, two quantities being divided together, and in fact, whenever something is being divided, you can always simplify it. You always do that. So thank you for watching, and I really hope you learned something.